Today's video is probably the most vulnerable that I've ever made. Actually, I don't know. It's probably in the top 5. Okay, so I was asked in a recent video that I made on Instagram, I shared a story saying how when you just have that clarity, things, people, situations, circumstances just kind of fall away. And this happened to me several times. And someone asked me, a follower asked me, well, how do you know if it's the right or wrong thing? And another question that came up was, how do you know what is the right and wrong action to take? It's like, it's kind of easy when things just fall away or people leave your life, but when you get clarity, how do you know, what action you should be taking? And whether you call something, whether it's from resistance or if it's actually like, because it's the next step and you're gonna level up and that's where your evolution is, and you just have to, and you're just having that resistance, and that's when red means go. Or when is it that this is really not in alignment? Where is it that you're putting yourself in that box, and where is it that it's actually um, really not right for you? So today I'm going to address an example in my personal life when I was in a relationship where I had an absolute non-negotiable, and instead of running, I decided to stay and get curious. Let's dive right in. Okay, so with this one, I hope to give you clarity, and this is the reason why I'm sharing so authentically and something that's very close to my heart, because this really gives a very clear picture of where is it that you have to go with that, like you know that this is the right decision and when it really is not. And what are the risks if it happens to be the other one? So I was in a dynamic with a person who had a child, and for me that was a non-negotiable. Typically, um, I was not even looking at people who would have children because I have children, and I just thought that that would be too messy and too complicated, and that's not something that I want to deal with. Now, with this person, we had incredible communication, and not only did I communicate that, I communicated this after doing the inner work. So there's a backstory. I did withdraw for a little bit because it didn't feel safe and I was just not sure what was coming up from my emotions. And I also didn't want to admit that I was really kind of looking into a future with this person. And as I did my inner work, what came up, because as we know, actually two as we knows, first as we know, it's never about other people, it's always about ourselves, and what does that mean about us? So as I did my inner work, I understood that it wasn't about the person. It was my excuse. It was me running away because actually I didn't feel good enough. And I felt like I would not be really good at being a stepmom or even a partner of, like being that person and being in that dynamic. And I was just terrified of that. And so I wanted to avoid that at all costs. And second, as we know, whatever's coming up in the present moment, it's usually not about right now. It's a childhood story replaying. So as I got into that and got more curious about it, what is this really about? Why is it that I'm not feeling good enough? What is the story that's replaying in my mind? It was about my father and the way he handled things when I was little and he remarried. And throughout my whole teenage years, even though I didn't see him a lot because I was living abroad, um, I had this dynamic of he and I, which I absolutely loved him and he adored me and I got everything that I wanted. It was an incredible dynamic. And it was him and his wife, like his family. He didn't have any more kids, but it was just him and his wife. And although I would interact with her sometimes and we would like go on vacation all together, it was still kind of awkward and not, he didn't make the effort to create that connection between me and her. And now the reasons don't matter. It's not about, he didn't have the tools, he didn't know how, or he didn't deem it important. It really doesn't matter. The point was that for me, for my inner child, what came up was I don't want to be that person. Like, I didn't like how that was handled, and I don't want to be that person in somebody else's life. I don't want to be that step parent or the girlfriend, and be in that dynamic. So it wasn't about this particular man. However, I was this close Actually, no, I absolutely did use this as a reason to run at some point, and then I came back and there was repair work. I did use this to withdraw. So the reason I didn't though, and the reason that I did the inner work and I dug deep was because my pattern, this is something that I know about myself, was that I'm the runner, that I was the one who was not choosing my relationships. I was the one who was trying to keep safe and to be closed in my walls because that's what felt safer. And opening up was terrifying. And I remember one of my teachers saying, and the reason it affected me, like it really, right, like to my heart, was because she was expressing this as she was tearing up and saying that, and I'm tearing up as I'm remembering this, just the way it was said, and that's why it affected me so much. Keeping that inner child safe is not worth, it's too much of a price to pay compared to that which you can experience in this open, beautiful, conscious relationship. And now I didn't believe her when I heard that, but because of the way she said it, because she was really tearing up and I could feel that sincerity and honesty, I listened to that. And even though I was terrified, I committed, and this was something that I communicated to this person, that I commit to staying. I commit to speaking even when I really don't want to. I commit to communicating my feelings even though it's difficult. And again, I really don't want to. And sometimes there would literally be times where I'm just there on the phone and for 20 minutes I'm just quiet and I can't open my mouth and speak that which is uncomfortable because there was just so much vulnerability. And I committed to staying and I committed to doing that work and to showing up. So there were so many reasons, and I absolutely could have gone into, he has kids and this isn't working for me, this is my absolute non-negotiable. But the power of not believing in your beliefs. And in a recent post that I shared on my Instagram, I shared a beautiful quote by one of my mentors. And an important part of there was me asking, what is the point of a conscious relationship? And it's not just about relationship, but it's also about how you, like, I mean, relationships with another. It's about your relationship with yourself. It's about understanding that it's not only peace and serenity and happiness, that you get to experience the roller coaster, that it's fun, that that's the thrill, that you get to, life is all about getting lost and then coming back to center. Think about relationships. We have those waves of we disconnect from each other and then we need to connect again. And you can't just have connection all the time and you can't just have disconnection all the time. So, how do you know that it's right or wrong? How did I know? Why did I not just leave? Why did I decide to do the work? Why did I, at some point, when I withdrew, and then that was just not, that did not create a safe environment for the other person to feel safe, and they withdrew. And in that moment, I asked myself, are my tantrums worth it? Are my fears and insecurities and me giving in to my ego stories, is it worth losing this person? And the answer was no. It was not worth losing this relationship, and not even for the other person. It wasn't worth it for me. Because, and this is something that I say pretty much to absolutely every person that I work with, the reality you see around you is a combination of everything you felt and thought and did until this moment. So it's who you were until right now. And I saw the relationships that I had, and I saw the dynamics that I had, and I saw what I was feeling, and I had to decide that I didn't want that. I wanted something better. And to be something better, to level up, you basically have to be a different person. You have to show up differently, you have to think differently, you have to act differently. And from the thoughts come the feelings. So for me, I knew that that was right because it was in alignment to that which I committed. I committed to having a healthy relationship. I committed to showing up as the best version of myself. And most importantly, I committed to opening up fully and being authentic and being vulnerable and surrendering. And because that was my commitment, that required that inner work. That required me putting my tantrums aside and doing that which is uncomfortable. It required me choosing this dynamic and choosing myself. Again, it's not about other people, it's about ourselves. It's about our own personal growth. So Mm. Just breathing into that. Where is it that you're holding yourself back? How does your body feel right now as I'm saying all of that? Where is it that you're holding yourself back, replaying the old story over and over and over again? Seeing the reality that you keep creating. Maybe it's in relationships, you keep having failed relationships. Maybe you're not fully opening, or maybe you're not fully choosing your partner, or maybe you're not fully leading the relationship if that's what you're choosing to do. If you're the masculine, if you want to show up as the masculine energy in a relationship, maybe you're not fully surrendering if you're there wanting to show up as the feminine aspect in a relationship. So, and of course, we have all of us have the masculine and feminine within us. So where is it that you're not doing one or the other? Where is it that you're not doing what it takes to level up your, let's say, financial wealth, or your lifestyle, or any aspect of your life? Where is it that you're seeing those results, saying, okay, I see it, and I keep doing the same thing? How do you know whether it's right or wrong? And how do you move forward? Which action do you choose? What feels uncomfortable? And not uncomfortable in a sense of this is emotionally or physically unsafe, in a sense of, and I compare everything to the 20-meter free fall that I did. And it was like, I have the harness, I'm looking down, this does not feel safe, I do not feel good about this, but I know that it's a yes. Like it feels like a yes in my body. It's like, yes, I'm going to do this. It's going to be adrenaline rush. It's going to feel amazing. But in the moment, I do not want to jump. It's terrifying. So this was the same thing. I knew that for me, that dynamic felt so right in that moment. The period of time that it lasted, there was just so much growth coming out of it. Because I kept saying yes, because I was committed to that vision of, I want to be a different person. I want to be somebody who opens up fully, who is able to be vulnerable, who doesn't run. So even though it was absolutely terrifying, that foundation felt like a yes. And that's what I was committed to, and I was moving towards that. So what is that foundation for you? What is it that you're committed to? What is that heart's calling for you? What is your guidance? It's like, yes. And practically your mind's going, hell no. Okay? That's usually a yes. And can you take steps towards that? So now, word of warning. We are not wired for happiness. We're wired for comfort. Okay? Like if you've been consuming junk your whole life and then you start drinking green juice, you will actually feel sick. Okay? It will not feel good. And it's the same with when you've been in unhealthy relationships, when you were there, even if you're changing, I want to say the polarity with the feminine and the masculine. And because for me, it's like I was used to leading and that felt safe. And like surrendering did not feel safe whatsoever. Trusting the other fully did not feel safe whatsoever. It was like, I trust you, just show me a map and tell me when and where we're going, which isn't true surrender, which isn't true trust. So if you're changing that role, if you're starting something new, it is likely to feel safe to withdraw, and that would feel good. And I know that for me, whenever there was a disconnection, I was like, oh, okay, this feels good, this feels liberating. But again, that foundation felt like, no, you're missing something. Like it's not a yes of the foundation. It's the ego's yes. The ego's like, thank God we don't have to do this anymore. Thank God the inner work's finished. But that's not where the growth is. And deep down, that heart's calling, that soul's calling is guiding us towards evolution. It's guiding us towards the next level. So are you willing to open to that? Understanding, where is it that, does this feel good because it's relief? Or does this feel good because it's genuinely good? I had a client who was there. He was used to, he was brought up in a household where his parents would always fight. And when he and his partner were just in this blissful state and the house was quiet and they were just very loving to each other, he would have to start a conflict because he grew up in this, well, that's love. Like that's what family is. And he was doing this subconsciously. He was not aware that he was doing that until we brought that to awareness. And he was like, oh my God, I'm actually not okay. Like I'm uncomfortable when there's no conflict. Like, what is wrong with me? It's like, there is nothing wrong with you. You were just wired for that because you grew up in a household where that was normal. So if you were there in a dynamic, for example, like I was, I never fully connected with anyone. I never fully chose my partner. When I do that, that seemed like a lot. So withdrawing felt like the safe thing to do. If you're there, again, so many people have that when they're used to making a particular sum of money, and then they make a lot more money than they're used to. They often actually physically go sick, okay? Because that is so uncomfortable that, they have to compensate something else going wrong in their life because that just does not feel safe. Success oftentimes does not feel safe. So bring that to awareness. Just because we're going into what is the right or wrong decision. Just because the right away something feels like, oh, okay, this is good, that may be just the ego's, okay, this is good because we don't have to go for growth and evolution anymore. So just becoming very aware of that. Similarly, when we're there, this does not feel good. I know for me, when I was shifting my life completely, um, when I was something I did a few years ago, which was completely like, I was just divinely guided to that. I was thinking, this is absolutely insane. I have no reason to do that. And I took that step anyway. It felt as a yes deep down, but on the surface it was like, don't do it. Like, this is the worst idea ever. And that resistance was there because it was the heart's calling. That was the red means go. So just becoming very, very, very clear about this and really getting curious about your beliefs. Where is it that, what is it that you believe, first of all? And also, is that good feeling genuine, or is that the ego's good? Is that resistance genuine, or is that the ego's resistance? So, on this note, I hope this was helpful. One of the practices that I have as a free resource on my website is a heart connection practice. That is where you can just tune into your heart center, understand what is it that I really want. And I created this resources because I know how hard it is to sometimes tell the difference between, well, what is the intuition and what is my ego, and I can't tell the difference. So hopefully this resource will support you in doing exactly that. So if you're watching this on Instagram, it's in the bio, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it's right below. And on this note, I'm wishing you such a powerful day.